Welcome. Welcome, digital natives. I'm really excited about this entire enterprise, and because we are experiencing here a kind of knowledge sharing that we are used to watching on YouTube or other platforms, which happens in other parts of the world. But I think it's time we also have our own knowledge platform. It's time we also share our insights with the next generation. We also create our own stories. And that's why I'm really keen to talk about it. When I was asked, what do we say when we ask these bright young sparks to come and listen to us? And my only response was, what's your story, digital native? Because fundamentally, all of those who are here, they are fundamentally digital native. You did not start in the analog era. You started your experiences in life in the digital era. And that is why I'm very keen. Being someone from a legacy media, as they usually say, I started in journalism, in writing. I was in a newspaper in the days when dimly lit, smoke-filled newsrooms was the custom. Then I moved on to doing television journalism as well as radio and multimedia journalism, as we say, at the BBC in London for nearly a decade and a half. But what I have found to be fascinating is that as the last decade and a half was evolving, we found that media consumptions and people's behavior towards how they interact with the media shifted. They became more and more attuned to using digital spaces. But here is the dilemma. How do you ride two tigers? How do you ride on the shoulders of two separate giants? Let me give you an example. Television. Television still in this country and in many media markets has the highest reach possible. Cable television is a giant of media reach. But in the last decade and a half, developed media markets, as one might call them, or more higher penetration of digital assets, in these places, we suddenly notice that you cannot have television only in the mix because the digital native has arrived. You have arrived. And you do not only consume television. In fact, let me be correct, you rarely consume television on a regular basis. Your fundamental platform to consume knowledge, information, entertainment, news is the digital medium. How do we switch our communications to that? I remember sitting through multiple sessions where we were told at the BBC, where we were discussing how do we become multi-platform? You do not only create content for the television audience, but you create content for the same audience that then again is consuming other bits on digital space. And this is where I think I wanted to share some of the learnings because you're the future. Fundamentally, you are the digital native that you will be building the next layers and levels of communication platforms, content, which will always remain king. Content will remain the king because fundamentally, I'm just going back a few 100,000 or a few million years. Stories are what we use to tell our lives, the stories of our lives. We use stories to transfer knowledge. And all the advertisements, the communications, the newspapers we read, even the textbooks that we read, the novels, the stories, they're all fundamentally about passing on what our experiences were, what the experiences of our forefathers were, what our mothers learned from their mothers, on to the next generation through story. When the caveman painted the hunting scene, he was actually telling a story. He hadn't invented language, but he was telling a story. Fundamentally, if you think about it, stories transcend words. We now cannot think beyond telling a story in a language. This is what happened a long time ago. But imagine the day when there was no language. How did we tell stories? Very, very fast forward to today. We now have language, we have visual cues, we have design elements to tell stories on a day-to-day basis. But let me go back to the basics. Fundamentally, whatever medium we're using, the story sits at the heart of it. But at the heart of communication lies how you tell any story. Because if you can learn to tell one story well, you will learn to tell all stories well. And all brands, all companies, all organizations and entities are fundamentally built on stories. A company or a brand that has no story does not live for too long. Fundamentally, whatever communication we do has to be bespoke. We cannot create a television commercial or a news report or a press release and custom, just ad hoc send it around everywhere. Because that experience is long gone. Every platform is different. You have to do different things for different platforms. And I want you to seriously think about it because you are multi-platform users. You use Facebook, you're on Insta, you're on Twitter. And by you, I mean the digital native, I mean your future consumers. So fundamentally, I want you to think, I really want you to think, and I am thinking all the time. Because if I stop evolving, even as a communications individual, someone who wants to tell stories, I'm finished. Because if we don't evolve constantly, the new thing that will come will make us redundant. Imagine if every company or brand started thinking, I'm going to talk to my consumer on a direct level. All you could do till now was have a billboard, a print ad, maybe a Facebook post, but now you can literally talk directly to your consumer. But we don't really talk on our mobile or chat on our mobile saying, this is Mahfuz. I just want to discuss very candidly about what we're doing. You write in emojis, you write with non-cap letters with you. We need to start communicating with our consumers or our audience, not always in their language. I don't want newspapers to start using you instead of YOU, but we are now experiencing one of the most revolutionary stages where technology is suddenly taking communication to the level whereby every person's communication can be bespoke. We might end up having, hello Mahfuz, what can I do for you today? You seem a bit sad. Can I give you a joke? Or Mahfuz, do you want to eat something? bKash is giving a special offer for, I don't know, some form of recreational place, some food. I don't want to specify what kind of food I like, but the fact is, this is where we're moving to, and you are going to drive it. This will be your world, and you will be building it. I really, really hope that you keep track of it. You learn as much as you can about it, because without it, you will not be able to drive it the way you would like to. Not having that sense, you'll not be able to take it to where you want it to be. And coming back to what I said from the very beginning, what's your story, digital native? My question to you is, really, what's your story? You must have a story, all of you, individually, wherever you work, whatever communication you put out, wherever you love, wherever we live, wherever we die, wherever we roam about, we must have a story. And we must know that different mediums will have different ways. The days of writing beautiful penned love letters are gone. I wish they weren't. But now we send emails, we send texts, we send Insta videos, but we must know which platform works in what way. I think I've just gone on and on and on. Let's just wrap it up. And I'm sorry I've just could have kept you waiting. Let's hear from you. I'm really keen to hear some of your thoughts from all this long-winded conversation that I have had. Let's hear from the audience. Yes?
Hello, sir. My name is Dilar Jahan Brishti. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the amazing session. And my question to you is that in today's world, everything is becoming more digitalized. So what would be your suggestion to plan digital communication for the big brands?
Thank you, Brishti. What a beautiful name, by the way. And I think what I was talking about all this time, I think you understand very well how big I am on stories. Fundamentally, as you move between platforms, even when you are on a digital space, if your brand build an identity, it's almost like Brishti here, to her friends, is known as a particular kind of person. She's smiling right now. She probably smiles around her friends. She probably likes a particular kind of food. She wears a particular kind of clothes. She has a personality. A brand needs to be or have a personality. Only then can it have a story. And even when you move to digital spaces, what the difference, to ask your question directly, is that, as I was saying, we need to have the understanding that these different platforms, if you are on Facebook, your communication has to be specific. If you are on your website cannot be the days of about this company was founded on this year and we have done this, this, this. It's gone. Now we have, whenever someone comes to your website, you must give them content that engages. Otherwise, you're not really bringing in your audience and your consumers. If you are on Insta, a small example, Uber. What is Uber? Uber is a logistics company. It gives us cars to ride from one place to another. For many years, Uber's Instagram page, every other day, had beautiful pictures because, hey, admit it, that's why we go there, right? And none of them had any cars on them. Not a single car. It only had pictures of where you might want to go. And who will take you there? Uber. You don't have to worry about, oh, I need to rent a car. Is there traffic? Yeah, which is still a worry. But my point is, just imagine, first, someone sat there, and this is what I'm really hoping we will all do. They sat there and thought, why do people go to Instagram? Actually, they go there to look at beautiful pictures. Let's just cut all the sort of cords and figure out why we do that. Why do we go to TikTok? We go to TikTok, but a bit of funny, bit of experiential video, setting morality aside, who does what on TikTok. But my point is, different digital spaces, you have to think about your brand in a different way. And in TikTok, it might be different, but I think this is very important. Great question, by the way. The fact is, just because TikTok has a very specific kind of visual language does not mean, at least that's how I feel, you cannot change who your brand is. Like, Brishti cannot change who she is, but she can adapt, but remain true to herself. A brand or an entity has to be true to their own identity and then adapt to a particular medium, but not to lose your story, because that's the most valuable thing you have. Thank you.
My name is Sarjil Haider.
Hi, Sarjil.
So this was an excellent session, but as you mentioned, this is a digital era. So there is a lot of negativity as well, because you have talked about it's spreading for the internet and the social medias. So how can a brand maneuver to upload their positive gesture in this predominant negative digital area? So that's my question.
There you go. That's what I worry about all day. Let's not forget, we are all in an era where social media is filled with negativity, as Sajil was saying. And now, it's a very tricky space. How do you navigate it? Both as an individual, but also as a brand. And I think this is where our learning is not complete. If I told you today, I know a magic pill, we'll just do this, it'll fix it. I don't. But I'm learning, you're all learning. All brands must learn how to create safe spaces. Their digital brands and digital spaces and discussions surround it must be kept safe. I think we are still in a lot of frontier markets like Bangladesh. We think the public will figure it out. No, it's our responsibility. And it hampers the brand when you go to a particular company's discussion thread or some practitioner's Facebook group and you see negative discussions and personal attack. We must learn, and I believe this is crucial, that we must be proactive in managing the conversations that happen. And we should not allow misogyny. We should not allow racist abuse. We should not allow abusive language, ad hominem attack, personal attack. So yeah, I think my point being, we're learning. I think even the large social media organizations and other organizations, nobody has a perfect solution. They're all learning, but we cannot stop still and say, it'll go away. We have to be proactive. Thanks. Good question.
I am Sadia Yasmin Esha. Sir, this is a very nice session. My question is, few social media or optimization and the tools are already changing the horizon of digital communication. So, how is it affecting the industry or the plans in the upcoming days surrounding it in Bangladesh?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Isha. I mean, look, I mean, search engine optimization, real-time monitoring of social media analytics, of views, of people's opinions. I mean, just to give you an example, very interesting in the BBC newsroom and all the big newsrooms around the world. You know what they have? They're big monitors now, not with television feeds, but the analytics of their pages, which article is being read more. It goes up the rankings, literally in real time. And beside it, you have figures. 2 million people are reading this, 3 million people are clicking on this. And brands, I believe, as you go and move forward, brands will have real time monitoring and figuring out how their brand is performing, how their brand is being perceived. Now, how is that shifting? And particularly, let's come back to what's happening in Bangladesh. I see some absolutely fascinating work that's being done in Bangladesh as well. Because I have spoken to organizations and I've seen brands who are now working on both understanding how the digital space is affecting their brand communication. They're thinking about how they can create bespoke content, how they can create content that specifically relates to particular, and even on a more drilled down level. All of you go online at 11 o'clock at night just to look at a bit of Facebook and a bit of Insta. We all watch it. Brands are keeping a track of that. All of you at 8 o'clock, oh my God, I have to rush to university or office. I need to get an Uber. Brands will keep a track of that. Instead of giving a cashback at 7 o'clock, 3 p.m. in the afternoon when you're in the office or university, it will give it to you at that time when you need it most. And you'll use it, and that will generate revenue. So in certain ways, search engine optimization or analytics, whichever way you want to go with this, I think it has bad and good both connotations. On one hand, let us not forget, it is a control mechanism. We are watching you. Someone is watching you. As someone who believes in digital rights, someone who believes that your freedom of speech and your space to talk about different things should always be there, I would say that this is a balance. We're learning. You as digital natives have to constantly be on guard. And data privacy is going to be the big issue. And only responsible brands and responsible organizations like bKash, I'm very proud to say that we use some of the most sort of state-of-the-art technology, and we're very responsible how we keep the data of our customers safe. We're a regulated financial service, and we maintain that. And only by doing that, you can use the tools that are being available day to day and still be positive. You can maintain and grow your brand, your personality, your organization. So yeah, I think in Bangladesh, there's a lot of scope, and it's already happening, a lot of this, but I think we should learn the power or be aware of the power of these tools before we unleash them everywhere. Thank you.
আমার ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডে ডিজাইন অ্যান্ড আর্ট রিলেটেড, সো আমি পড়েছি ফাইন আর্টে, কিন্তু ডিজিটাল মিডিয়া একটা চ্যালেঞ্জ হলো গিয়ে আমাদের বিহেভিয়ার, যেটা মানি বিহেভিয়ারের সাথে আমাদের ফিজিক্যাল রিয়ালিটির সাথে কানেকশন ছিল, এটা এখন অপটিক্যাল এবং আমাদের এক ধরনের সাইকোলজিক্যাল বলতে পারো সাবমিনিমাল ওয়ার্ল্ডের মধ্যেও প্রবেশ করছে। সো সাবমিনিমাল ওয়ার্ল্ড আসলে কেন আমরা আসলে ইনস্টাগ্রাম ব্যবহার করি, আসল কারণটা কিন্তু আমরা জানি না। এক ধরনের হ্যাবিটস, এক ধরনের নিউরোপ্লাস্টিসিটির উপর আমাদের ডিপেন্ডেন্সি নাই, বরঞ্চ ওটা আমাদেরকে কন্ট্রোল করছে। সেক্ষেত্রে দের ইজ আ বিগ চ্যালেঞ্জ, বিকজ ইউ নিড টু আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড ব্রেইন, হাউ ব্রেইন ওয়ার্কস। সো এক্ষেত্রে ডিজিটাল এবং মানি, এটা বিগ শিফট হবে অ্যাবাউট আওয়ার নিউরো ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ বিহেভিয়ার্স। মানে কতটুকু ইন্টারনেট ব্যবহার করলে আমরা অসুস্থ হয়ে যাব এবং কতটুকু সুস্থ থাকবো,
I mean, that's a great point. I mean, again, I kept on talking about digital. Can I pick it up then? Yeah.
Sure.
So, I mean, I was just saying that of all this talk about discussions, well-being is very important. It's really having an impact on our lives as well. And um, I just want you to remember, in a lot of your phones now, be it an Apple phone or a Samsung phone, they put in timers where you can say, why do they show you have used this much, you have this much screen time? Because brands have realized if they are not taking into account the well-being of the consumer, then they will not be able to show themselves to this question. This is the way I could think of when you ask that question. And also, let's not forget, I am seeing a lot of social and psychological and a lot of thoughts with people being exposed to a lot of digital media consumption and screen time. We must be very, very acutely aware that our minds and our body and our brain was not designed or is not designed to consume so much visual cues, information. I think a big part of being digital natives that you are is also taking care of your digital health. You have to take care of your digital health. And as professionals, you have to be very mindful that you're taking care of the digital health of your consumers or users. People don't abuse a very, very powerful tool. There will always be people who try to do that. But by making the people aware that this is how you can keep yourself safe, this is how your data can be kept safe, that's how you can move forward. Thanks. If you let the future to be predicted, it'll be in a different way. You predict it. You create it, rather. So in certain ways, of course, we'll work on it. That I believe that organizations or mobile phone organizations, companies, they all will take the benefits that bKash as an organization provides. And we want to help our consumers and the people of Bangladesh to move on to a cashless society. We don't need to be everywhere in the world to prove that we're big or we're growing fast. Thank you, all of you, for coming here. And it's been quite exciting for me to talk to you. And remember, what's your story, digital native?